Good evening. I call to order the Monroe Public Schools Board of Education work session. Today is Tuesday, May 12th, 2026, and the time is 5:32 PM. Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Heck.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Ms. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Sabadini.
Here.
Mrs. Tarasi.
Here.
Mrs. Vincent.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Here.
Will you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin, please note that this evening is being live streamed and recorded. There are two cameras in use this evening. One focused on the Board of Education and another one that may be used during public commentary or presentations. By participating in this meeting, you acknowledge that you may be captured on video. Thank you for your understanding and for joining us tonight. Next up, discussion items. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Shaw.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. So our first item is the 26-27 ISD budget. And I did have one question. We're going to get into Q&As if you have any. I did have one question asked, and it had to do around fund balance that the ISD carries. And what I can share as far as my knowledge, on the general fund, it's roughly a 40% fund balance, $12 million. Their projected revenue for the year is $28 million, so it makes about a 42%. They are looking at spending $1.6 million of that fund balance this coming year, going down. One of the challenges that the ISD does face is it is sometimes what the amount of money is coming in from the state, so they carry a little bit higher fund balance. But one other area that the ISD also will face in both general ed and in special education is sometimes filling staffing positions. So that will happen. What happens there? When it comes to special ed, I do know this one is on the special education. They're showing right now a beginning fund balance of July 1 of almost $33 million. So it's near a 50% fund balance. They're showing spending $7 million of that fund balance this coming school year. So it lowered it down to $25 million. One of the things reason they carry a higher fund balance, it has to do with when they hit their lull of funding. So they show that in the presentation to you. They do have dips in their year. And so their dips show up in December when they do a payout to the local schools. Well, they do one in September to us, and then they're short up in December. But then they have another lull that occurs. So that's one of the reasons that they do carry a fund balance. I do know for a fact, though, too, that sometimes their fund balance in special education moves up because there are positions that they don't get filled. And so that's the reason that fund balance moved. But that's been pretty consistent on why their fund balances are where they sit. So I'll gladly do my best to answer any questions that board members might have on the ISD budget.
So it's pretty typical of the kind of fund balance they carry?
It is very typical.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any opportunity, does that leave opportunity for the schools to make requests because schools are
So we have,
situation?
so for example, our request this coming year is more social worker support. And so that is coming. I believe they're adding 2 more social workers to our system.
Okay.
And so we put that in. And so you can make requests. It really comes down to, they're showing right now, they're going to spend about $7 million of fund balance next year. And so if that holds, they can only do that for so long. And so then it's like, okay, what happens next as far as their staffing would have to change because they will not be able to support that kind of spending of fund balance. Now, it won't be that, but it won't, no, at the end of the day, it will not be to that degree. It might be a couple $1 million truly at the end. So you can put in requests in special education. General ed, that is all service-based. And so they provide services to the locals. They'll never send money to the locals. So special ed is where we can put in different requests, and it's not money. It's going to be in supports.
Services, right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on the ISD budget?
Yeah, I got one. I was approached today, believe it or not, at church, about last night we talked about Riverside, and they wanted to know what percentage of the overall budget at Riverside is Monroe Public versus ISD. And I said I didn't have that answer.
Yep. So the ISD runs their, we have, I believe it's, I think it's 2 classrooms. That is for our Rainbow Preschool system. The rest are all preschool classrooms that are being ran out of the ISD, out of that building. And those are all Monroe Public School students, just preschool students. And so we rent those spaces, those classrooms to the ISD to use. And so instead of us running our own preschool programs, we do that through the ISD and let them run them on our behalf. And so,
Okay.
yeah.
I told them I did not know the truth
Yep.
at that time, but I said I was pretty sure that the majority of that money is Monroe Public School money.
Yeah, so when it comes to that building, Cassie would love to have been here today, but she had obligations at home. She could tell you like how much revenue we receive through the rent. I don't know that one off the top of my head. I don't want to venture to guess on what that amount is.
Wasn't it like $500 a classroom or something?
That's why I don't want to guess.
Oh, okay. I remember we talked about it
Yeah.
before. For some reason, that stuck in my
Yeah,
head. I don't know. Put it that way.
Maybe she can put it in board briefs.
Yeah, I'll have her put that in board brief, so that'll be documented there. And so there's an allowable amount that they are permitted to provide us for rent for our facilities through the grants, through Title I, sorry, not Title I, Head Start or GSRP. And so when we start to look at their budget, that's part, so GSRP is part of their general education budget. And so that's more of just really, it's an in and it's an out. It's not, as Cassie talked about, from the grant system.
What'd you
and-
say the 2 classrooms were that we have?
Yeah, so Terry, I'm gonna make, because I don't want to misquote, what are the Rainbow Preschool and,
Oh, I thought you
Kids
said
Club.
we do a preschool
Yeah.
then.
yep.
What's the other one that we run? I thought there was like a daycare type of childcare.
Preschool program, we have a rainbow preschool. And then we run kids.
Kids Club.
Yep.
That's the daycare.
So that's using 2 classrooms, I believe, or 3,
Oh, so the kids club is the daycare.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I would be, when I get back to them, I would be correct in saying that ISD rents 2 classrooms from
No,
us.
the ISD rents the vast majority of the building from us.
Okay,
Yeah, 2 of the classrooms are ours. The rest of the classrooms are rented by the ISD to support preschool classrooms of students who are kids that live in Monroe,
so they are paying rent to us for
those spaces.
all but 2 spaces. Got it, okay. Got it, okay.
And I'll have it in board brief so it's more clear as to how much rent we
It's
receive.
interesting you bring that up because I got an email from someone from Riverside saying, hey, are you interested, anybody interested in getting, I said, well, sure, let us know what you're thinking.
Just,
But that's twice a Riverside
Right.
Friday.
I guess, just something to file away in the back of our brains, and when we're talking about, since there's $100,000 in debt over there, could we increase the rent to the ISD?
So,
help
so there, again, there's an allowable amount that.
I mean, they got $50 million.
So remember, that's, there's an allowable amount that they are permitted to pay out of those grants for it. So it's not an unlimited. I will
Okay.
pose that question to the ISD.
It was a thought,
I'll ask that question of Katie.
Okay, fair enough.
Gary, are you looking for a bag of cash with unmarked bills?
Yes, I am.
Any other questions on the ISD budget there? Excellent. So the next item is our Trojan build, and so those documents were sent out to you. One is the sale of our current house. We do have Tom and Leah with us tonight to speak on that and answer any questions. And so I just really would like to get into any questions on the sale process that you would have, and then we'll talk also then about the build of the next house. So kind of give it to you guys. Like I said, we have our 2 people here to talk about that, if you have any
Just-
questions.
One question, it's more on the sale of the property.
Yes.
It looked like the assessment was
380.
380, and we were gonna put it on the market for 349. Is there
My
any
brain's
reason-
functioning.
Yep. Yep.
349, so 350 basically.
Yep. So if, I know you had one-on-one conversations with.
The market analysis. Sit down.
When the appraisal came back and Tom presented the appraisal to us and we talked about it, and he's been working with Nene Riggs. She's been kind of guiding some of the details of the build along the way, knowing that she would be the listing agent. And if you read through the appraisal, which is also in your packet, the summary part of the appraisal speaks to the fact that he had a really hard time finding comps within that neighborhood. And Nene said people that are shopping in that 380, 379.9 price range are looking for different amenities in their neighborhoods. She would have a very hard time selling it at that price point, in her opinion, and I trust her opinion. She's a professional, been doing this a long time.
sold
She's
most
more
of the others.
she sold, yeah, all 5 other ones. So she knows the neighborhood well, and she said that she would be comfortable with a listing price of 349.9. So that's what we're asking for. Did I summarize
And
that
we've,
okay?
and we've seen that, as the houses have gotten more and more expensive, like Trojan 3, we had like 15 people. We had so many showings that there were people in the front yard waiting for the people in the house to leave. There
Good
were people in
problem.
the backyard waiting for people. I mean, there were so many showings. Trojan 4, the price, just the housing market, and it went up. So you noticed maybe from 15 down to 12 to it, exploded. And then on Trojan 5, we only had like 4 showings. And it really was concerning to me to see those numbers keep dropping. And that was one of the biggest contributing factors was I was trying to keep the price down on this house and not finish the basement, not go overboard, trying to keep that price down because I had a number in my head of what the more, average people, that average price point that people are looking for, the higher price or average people are looking for. And that's why I was trying to keep it down.
Yeah, that neighborhood, other than the Trojan builds, are fairly old houses, because I used to live in that neighborhood, so,
Very nice neighborhood,
Oh,
very
it's
nice. It's not very much new
fantastic.
construction there.
yeah.
I forget, how does it work if someone comes in with a lower bid? How do you handle that?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question. If they,
Like,
I mean,
I don't want to pay that much money and I offer you something else.
then
Is there-
we, as the
it just
sellers,
comes
we
up?
look at the offer and we either
Just like we
counteroffer
do
or decline
everything
it.
else.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Andy would be the person acting on your behalf in that process.
And, yeah, nope, I'm not the realtor, just making sure we get as much money as we can. And that's in my email communication to you is that hopefully though we see 2 or 3 people that are liking this house, and so then they know where we're starting, and that's the minimum right there, and it kind of moves. So that's, the other part though is that if we do have only one come in and we have it too much, how long do we want to sit on it?
Yeah.
And that's the other factor, and so.
We're
that's-
hoping by keeping it at that price point, when you're competing against other new builds, you should get some interest, which might drive multiple offers, and hopefully they're over and not under asking. But we always have the ability to counter offer or decline an offer.
What's the interest rate right now? You know?
Mortgage rate, probably about
6.5.
7.
Still, yeah, it's still 6.5, roughly. There.
That is, that size and type of house, which is similar to the houses in Central Park, and they're going for about 450, so.
Location.
I know it's location, but at least as far as the quality and the size of the house, certainly underpriced. So let's
So-
hope we get in a little bidding war.
Is it finished then, completely done?
It's close.
Okay. And the opening's still set for June 1st, is that what it is?
Oh, for open house?
Yeah, grand
Which
opening.
we have to set invitations, but we talked about, it's the tentative date we had was the Wednesday after the holiday, which I don't have my calendar in front of me,
Okay.
but.
We're working on that. So I would also like to have Tom talk about Trojan Build 7. Make sure I get my numbers right. 7, and what that begins to look like.
Sorry it took us so long to get the set of print for you guys to see. So we try to do something different and unique for each house. And with the talents of having the students and getting them incorporated with drawing the house and stuff like that. We have a student this year at Monroe High School that has drawn the house. We saw a few blueprints and we kind of merged a few blueprints, some, neat ideas like having the laundry room accessible from the primary closet as well as the hallway. And another porch on the back as well as the front. That was the one thing that we did this year. We've done it in the past. Seems like people really, really, really like a roof over a porch in the back. Gives someone, somewhere some privacy to be under, even if it's raining a little bit, and stuff like that. So we try to incorporate that as well. The house is about the same size, just very different. Be very, very unique. Big cathedral ceilings, right when you walk in the master bedroom, or I'm sorry, right when you walk in the foyer, all the way to the back wall in the kitchen. We'll have an island again, plenty enough lights or, light through the windows and stuff like that. Big rooms. So
I'm emailing this out to you. So here's what the floor plan looks like. So here's the front.
it's a true split ranch. So the primary suite is on the back right-hand side, and then the kids' rooms are on the left. So you've got the entire family room, kitchen area to divide the two. Just seems like that's really what people are really wanting, is that split ranch. It will have a full basement. Again, we won't finish it, but I mean, the sky's the limit for what they could do in a basement that size.
Is it any decoration like the one that one,
Um,
that one basement, remember how fancy it
That was
was?
Trojan 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least
That
part
was,
of it was.
that was the a result of extra time during COVID.
Yeah.
And then that whole extra year that wasn't planned, that
Yeah.
they had time to do that
Yeah.
project. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
So is this a result, the design of just one student, or are there multiple students?
No, it was something that, his name is Gary Whitehouse. He's in my advanced class. He actually went with us to the Mites Build, the competition just last weekend. Gary's was in my class last year, and then Mr. Marchese had him the year before. So we've been around Gary for quite some time. So we just were spitballing a few ideas at the beginning of the year because I knew that he was in Mrs. Pillarelli's class as well. And I said, I really like a few of these, designs. Do you think that you could take some of these and start, putting them together? And so he just kind of ran with it. And there's definitely been, he'll print it off each half day. I was telling him, I said, always print it off on a half day. That way I could take a look at it during PD and stuff like that. We were really trying really, really, really hard to do a bonus room above the garage. We just struggled with getting the stairs to that area that didn't make it look very awkward from the outside, And so, about a month, even over spring break, I would think about it on the beach, and if I just got to a point, it's just not going to happen,
Pull down?
Yeah, or slide, but no, it needs to look right, because these are spec houses, you need to try to appeal to as many people in the community.
Sure.
If it was a custom home and they were just bound and determined, I could come up with a few ideas, but it might look a little weird on the outside. But if it's their home and they love it and they're fine with it, great. But I was more willing to lose a bonus room. We still have the full basement. So
What's the square footage?
it's around 1,800 square feet. We're maxed out. We have to have 6 feet setback on one side of the yard and 9 on the other. 35 feet in the front and 35 in the back, and we're there. We've had it there before. Trojan 4, my overhang was in the setback, and the township's like, we're okay with an overhang, but yeah, we definitely can't, encroach
That's where
on the
fireplace
setbacks.
Bumped out over it.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it was on a weird, really, if you remember, Trojan 4 was on a really weird shaped lot. To the point where even Trojan 3, when they had their fence put in, the fence guy called and said, I think you put the house on crooked. I said, "No, it's not crooked. Trust me, I know." But yeah, it's maxed out, but I really am excited for it.
When do you start this?
So typically, we would dig the hole last week in July, and then the month of August would footers, foundation. I try not to do that around students. It's just, there's just so much going on, so many big trucks and big things going on that having 15 students or 45, whoever is out there with me, in my personal opinion, it's just, you're just asking for something bad to happen. When they put the footer in, they'll have rebar sticking out of the ground. It's like every 3 or 4 feet. If a kid were to fall in there, it just, there's no stairs, I've unfortunately seen the inspector lose a shoe getting into a foundation area just to inspect stuff. It's just, it's for the experience, and I try to get it to the point where the first full week of school, we'll start building headers and door. I try to put as much stuff together in my shop and then put it on a small trailer to go out. And that way, when we're building that wall, all we gotta do is grab that window unit and install it in there. Just easier to build it in the shop on tables with miter boxes and everything else. Just get a little bit straighter of a cut, a little bit better quality of a construction, rather than having it done in the field. I mean, it can be done in the field. I've done it for many, many years, but to learn, I just think it's always easier to do it in the shop. So, but then about the second full week of school, we'll be out at the house and from the ground up.
He says he'll try. He has this down to a science. I've watched him in his craft. As soon as school starts, those students start working. They know what, they're familiar with him and the program in the shops. They're in there and they start right away. And wood starts going over top of that basement quickly. All of a sudden, they'll be setting walls and I'm like, it's only week 2 or 3. I'm like, Tom, yeah, make sure you tell me so somebody can get pictures, because he'll get rolling and just fly through the framing process.
In all the years doing this, definitely the framing, the roofing, the windows and doors, a little bit of siding is definitely the kids' favorite. They definitely don't like drywall. I'm not gonna say
They
all
don't
of
like
them,
sanding
but a good
drywall.
majority of them definitely don't like drywall. It is an art.
Learn how not to put on.
They
tape
like
on
flooring
everything.
for a day or two, but anything longer than that, let's hurry up, But they just, there's something about when you build a house, the bus will show up and, it's like taking kids to Disneyland, they're wondering like, what did the other classes get done? And, oh, wow, that wall's up now. And it's just, you can see that instant gratification every day by something else getting put up,
That's cool.
So they definitely like that process. The few of them that I know of that will be back next year are already really chomping at the bit.
How many students you have involved this year?
I'm maxed at, my classes are all full, so I'm at 45. But I'm out there by
You had
myself,
45 kids?
not at one time.
Oh.
Oh,
3 groups,
I'm
15.
like, I couldn't imagine 45 kids.
No,
on
we,
this
Me
we
neither.
cap, we cap his, he used to have 20 when he started doing
26.
this. We cap it at 15 for this particular class, just because he's taking them off-site and he's alone with them.
Yeah.
So, 15, but he has 3 groups, and next year, we're actually gonna have a 4th section of advanced students that, Mr. Marchese will be teaching. They'll both be teaching a 3rd and 4th hour section of advanced, and it'll be an interesting dynamic. They have it all worked out, how they'll figure out who's going to the site on which day, and some of the students really love to like do furniture building and other things that Mr. Marchese is really great at doing, and just do some different projects with that group. But so next year it'll be 60 students for the advanced
Wow.
construction class.
Well, thank you both for coming
Yeah.
in, and hopefully, is that all the questions from everyone?
Hope you feel better.
I have a separate question for Leah.
Yes.
I know the student
Yes,
he was putting it in a competition.
he did, and it took a first.
Oh, great.
And it will be coming back by, Glenn thought that they would be able to get it back over here actually by the end of this week. They were still, the trailer still has things on it. They're still in the process of unloading it. But it took a first up at state.
Great.
So, yeah, so do I have like 3-minute quick update on, so their program, the Mites competition happened on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday up at the Oakland Expo Center. I had the privilege of going up there on Friday after the co-op breakfast. I got to go watch their construction team. Mr. Bell and Mr. Marchese had 3 students that were doing the live construction build. So they got the print on Thursday evening when they got up there. They went up Thursday with the students, stayed overnight Thursday. The students had a meeting. They got the print that they would be building on Friday. And at 8 a.m., I think it was 8 or 8:30, it started. And it finished at 4:30. They got an hour lunch break and a couple of short like snack drink breaks in the day built in. But they completely finished it. They took 5th place this year. They didn't take first, but I was so proud of them. If you would have watched them, they didn't stop all day long. It was nonstop all day long. And they took something that was a piece of paper and made a shed. Well, it was a shed. It could be used as a potting shed, or depending on where you live, even like a really fancy chicken coop. They could do a bunch of different things with it, but they always make it in a size that can go in the back of a pickup truck between the wheel wells so that it can be transported back to the districts. So it's at the high school right now, but they completed the whole thing. And then all of the students up there, they make a really big deal about it, and they get to bring home different tools that are donated. So they came home with sawzalls, is that how you say it? Am I saying that right? And grinders and hammers and all kinds of different tools. So the students were really excited, and they did a great job. And it was so hard. I have never seen 2 men that wanted to speak so bad and they had to not for a full day, because the students are not allowed to even make contact with their instructors the whole day where they're building. Even at lunch, they keep them all contained. They're not allowed to have any contact with their instructors. So, they'll be whispering to each other about how they would have done it different, or, hey, look at that. Or they're looking at what the other schools are doing and how, each team attacked it a little bit differently. But it was really exciting to watch, and they did well. And so did the other MITES projects that went up, including the project, the OWL project that will come back. So
Bring him
thank
in
you for
every-
letting him take it. Appreciate it.
Well, have him come in June
Okay.
so we can,
Do you know where you're
Thank
putting
you.
it?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
Right now, it's gonna sit over
It's
there.
gonna, until you
For the
move it.
this moment.
I don't know. Is it staying in this room, or I don't know
For this
where?
very moment, until we
for
find
now.
a nice house for it
Perfect.
here in this upper area. So thank you very
Anyway,
much.
they have students that are very skilled and were very efficient and did a great job.
Well, they build houses, so they're really good.
Yeah, but they build houses with somebody guiding.
Yeah.
It's different when they're completely on their own. That's
Right.
when you find out how skilled they really are, when they don't get the help.
Right.
So, and it was great. Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
All right, great job to both of you. Tom gets feeling better. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
All right. Andrea, let's talk a little student achievement, please.
And dive right into student achievement. I've got a couple documents to go through. I know you received this one in your board briefs a couple weeks ago that just outlines the proficiency data from just over the course of the year. So I'm going to start with this one just to go through the Y5 and K. And then there's another document that I believe you received either tonight or this week at some point that has 3 different views on it, starting in grade 1. And I'll explain in a minute why it starts at grade 1 and not the Y5 and the K. So we'll start over here with the Y5 and K. So just walking you through those proficiencies, we did separate those out for you again, so you can see where we started in the fall of this year. This is reading. I'll go through reading first, and then we'll switch over and do math. So I'll do reading as a whole. We'll start here, and then I'll flip over to the other document, and then we'll come back and we'll do math. So our Young 5 students, you can see where they started in the fall, having nobody exceeding the expectations for Young 5s, 5 students that came in at A, which really, if they're in any of those greens in Young 5s, they are exceeding an expectation because they're Young 5 students and they're measured against kindergarten standards in iReady. So you'll see the 5 students that were there in the green, and then we had 88 students that were considered an approaching grade level. You can see how that changed to the winter, and then here in the spring, in their most recent diagnostic, which was taken at the end of trimester 2. So think right before spring break time is when all those scores were kind of rolling in. We now have 40 students, so that 35 and that 5, that are exceeding those expectations for young 5s, and we have 53 that are at that approaching. So when we look at where they're at, that approaching doesn't necessarily mean they're below grade level, but those are our incoming kindergartners. So we look at where they're at and where that falls in the kindergarten measurement for them. So we've seen some good progress with those young 5 students and how they've moved through the year. And then our kindergarten students, you can see where they started out the year in the fall with 20 of those kindergartners coming in a little bit above grade level, 45 that were where they needed to be in kindergarten. And then we had 194 kindergarten students that were considered approaching grade level for kindergarten standards. And then they made a nice increase in the winter, and then in the spring they continued to grow with their reading. We now have 115 that are considered above grade level, 94 that were right where they needed to be, and 50 that were in that approaching grade level band for reading for our kindergarten. And then over here, we have 3 data points for you to look at. There's 3 points that we have talked about in the past. On the far left, what you'll see is the year view, so fall, winter, spring, like we just went over for young 5s in kindergarten for each grade level. Then in the middle, there's a cohort comparison, so looking at where the group of students was, so first graders, where they were kindergarten last year at this time. So that's why you don't have your young 5s or your kindergarten on here, because it's really hard to cohort those kids. It's not a lot of kids are different. And then on the far right, you have a comparison, which is a grade level to grade level. So you'll have grade 1 in the spring of last year, 2025, compared to grade 1 in the spring of 2026 this year. So that's a different group of kids, but it's a grade level to grade level comparison. So you can see how we're moving as a district in our grade levels. Does anybody have any questions about those 3 data points that we can walk through? There's that. Okay, so our first grade students, we'll start on the left, just thinking about that group of kids throughout the year, where we see them at. And in the fall, you can see where they landed. In the winter, we went over this data. And then in the spring, so our most recent diagnostic, we have 81 of those students that are above grade level, 47 that are on grade level, 135 approaching, and 7 who are that more than 1 grade level below. So we've taken that red. We started the year with 14 students there, so we are down to 7 with our first grade. As a cohort with that group of students, when we look back at how they were in kindergarten, kindergarten, you remember, does not have the red. There is no more than 1 grade level below in kindergarten. So we do see that appear as first graders. We do have fewer students who are in that green, a bigger band in the yellow. But again, just something to keep in mind as we look at cohorts is, as we've talked about before when we looked at cohort, they are not measured against the exact same standards every year. So those expectations rise, and proficiency in one year does not guarantee proficiency in the next year, depending on how you are performing on those standards.
But there's an anticipation that through the instruction, each students are going to grow as they get through the grades, right?
There's always an anticipation that they're going to grow. Will they score proficient on the assessment is always where we're not sure how they're going to do proficiency-wise. Will they grow? Yes, they'll grow, but the target moves. So the proficiency target moves the older students get. Our grade 1 comparison from year to year, so where we were last year, obviously we have a slightly different number of students that were in first grade last year. Something to pay attention to, we're pretty similar with where we were with students being in the at or above proficiency level, but where we did see that reduction of number of students was in that darker red band here. So we have 14 and then 7 this year.
And also the ratio of students in the green is significantly more in this year's cohort, right?
Right, I mean,
compared
we
to
have
last year's
fewer.
cohort.
There's different number of students there, yes. Our second grade students for our year at a glance in reading. Right now, we have, from the winter to the spring, we went from 36 students that were at or were above grade level to now 60 students performing above grade level. That students on grade level went from 60 to 66. And we did see a reduction in the more than one grade level below from 84 to 67 students in that red. So you can see some movement within the bands there. That yellow band looks a little bit smaller, but that green band got a little bit bigger. So you'll see that movement to the left there where that darker green got a little larger, the lighter green got a little larger, the yellow got a little bit smaller, as did the red. As a cohort, we see similar number of students that are falling in the on or above grade span. We do have more students that are in this band here that are the more than one grade level below.
You consider that a significant number of?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
We do. And so we are looking at, and this is where this data informs our decisions moving, especially as we think towards like summer school, which kids are we targeting? We are looking at those numbers and saying, okay, what's going on here? And that's where our targeted invites will come from. So yes, so we do want to see like what's happened here that, okay, in first grade, we had a significant number that were in the approaching band at this point this year. Now we have a significant number that are in this grade level below, which means we need to do some targeting there of those students.
Even though the green numbers, like, I always, I call it by colors. Sorry, everybody. But even though the green colors are pretty straight down on the right-hand side, there was a 22 student shift out of, a category. Anybody like thoughts on that or?
Are you referring to why the yellow changes?
No, the green. So the above grade level.
As a cohort, or are you
Right on the
referring
chart,
to this one?
From 82 to 60 in the cohort.
So as a cohort, what I would just say is that the change in that is, again, the expectation is different. To be in that darker green as a first grade student, the expectation is different than being in the darker green as a second grade student. Your content the standards are different. So just because I'm exceeding in a first grade does not necessarily mean I'm going to be exceeding in second grade, because what I'm being tested, what I'm being measured against is different. I think what we do pay attention to, though, is this approaching band. That is important because students can go either way. When they're in that approaching band, they're either really close to being on grade level or they're really close to being behind grade level. And so as teams, we do need to take a closer look at who's in that band and actually separate scores, taking a look at where they fall and how close are they one way or another, because sometimes it's a matter of a point or two, one way or the other. Same as our third grade students. You can kind of see how they've moved and progressed throughout the year. One thing with our third grade students, we have seen that darker green with this current group of students from the fall to the spring. We've seen some really good movement there. Going from 32 students that were above grade level in the fall, we have 67 students above grade level now. We had 59 that were on grade level. We have 89 now. And our dark red, which is 2 or more grade levels below, the third grade's the first time that shows up for the students. So when we start to see, when you're in second grade, you want to look not just at the yellow, but you also want to look at the red, because they can either go further into the red or we can pull them into the yellow. And third grade's where we really start to see where those students are landing within that below grade level band. So at the beginning of the year in the fall, we had 35 of our students that were considered 2 or more grade levels below. We have that at 20 now. So we've gone from 35 to 20.
Would you expect that 20 was a group that was also part of the 35 at the start of the year? But they
A
just
lot of
haven't
times
progressed.
there's overlap of students there,
So
yes.
they just haven't progressed.
Enough to get out of that band. Does not mean they have not changed their score, but the band gets,
Yeah, not
it's
enough.
harder to, the points that you need, there, you need more to move out of the band.
Have you given us an explanation, or have we seen an explanation of what that spread is?
It's different per grade level. I couldn't get you a chart that
That would help.
outlines the points that you need. It's a huge chart, so I can get it to you, but it would show you like, it's similar to when you think about M-STEP when they put you into the categories, and to be in the proficient band is the points are smaller. You have this wide range when you're thinking about that not proficient, and then you get down, so we might be talking like a 15 points in one, and then you might need, it's just a matter of 5 points to be another, but I can get you that. I can put it in board briefs.
That'd be helpful.
Link it for you.
Thank
So
you.
you can see, and it changes per grade level, so as you look at it, you'll look down the grid.
Thank you.
So our cohort as those third graders, again, like I said, that you wouldn't see that dark red for those kids as the second graders the year prior, but Tom, to your point, when you ask about that, are some of these students, I would venture to guess that if we were to go back to second grade, some of these students are some of those same students that would fall into this. But we do have, again, for this third grade group, they did make some nice progress of their, from last year to this year, the students who are in that green, either above or on grade level, which we still need to look at this and move them over to the yellow because we want to see the yellow continue to grow as well. But we do see some of those students that were in the approaching are now are at or above. When we look at where we fell last year, it's interesting because we do have the same number of students. There were 20 students last year that were in that darker red band. There's 20 this year as well, even though this is grade level to grade level comparison. However, our proficiency is higher this year for our third grade than it was last year.
I'm always interested when I look at that, and again, I talk in colors. So just, the parallels from two different completely group of kids. It seems like obviously the green's a little bit more, but we almost draw lines down,
And remember, third grade is a pivotal year too. Third grade is where we start to see that shift, and we talk about like learning to read, reading to learn. So third grade is a big shift, and that's where some of those gaps tend to widen if those foundational skills aren't solid moving into that grade.
That's where we talked about, would it be, I know we kind of didn't continue that conversation on anything related to retention, because just like you said, if they didn't get those foundational, I can see what's happening to the colors as we go on. So I don't know that we ever had an in-depth on that after the original, but I think it'd be interesting to use this data to have that conversation.
Yeah. For our fourth grade students, across the year, you can see what they look like from the fall to the spring. We do see a similar pattern there, that darker red decreasing. We have 70 students that were falling in that 2 or more grade levels below in the fall. Then that number went to 44 in the winter, and in the spring it was 40. We also have a reduction in this grade level, the number of students that are in the more than one grade level, so the lighter red. It kind of fluctuated a little bit. In the fall, we had 48 students there. In the winter, there were 59, and now we're down to 35. So there was some movement there, and we can infer that movement happened and moved those kids into that approaching band. As you see, that approaching band got a little larger from the winter to the spring, from 109 to 127. So that group of students, while they remained a bit consistent in their above grade level increased, but when you took those two categories above and on together, that number stayed kind of consistent, but we saw that growth in that middle band for that group of students, which is positive. That's a positive trend, because our hope is that we continue to move those kids in. If they can move over, we continue to move them over. As a cohort, again, so Darla, to what you were saying, when you kind of draw those lines, you can see that if you look towards the right, if we look at that darker red and that lighter red, the number of students in those bands is similar. Now, we do have students who may have been in that lighter red last year that may be in the darker red this year. Again, once we're behind, it's harder and harder to catch up. But we do have, with that group of students, there is a larger number, again, in that approaching. But we do have fewer students that are falling in that on grade level band.
Well, even though the dark green above is stayed the same, do we have any indicators of why there was such a loss in the green? Because that's definitely something, not that you don't want to see anything go backwards, but that's definitely a category that it sounds like they had the foundational skills. It sounds like they were doing well, and all of a sudden they're falling behind. Is there any insight in that?
There could be a lot of reasons why. When we pull that data out, a lot of times we see that it is related to comprehension questions. Students are asked they have less scaffolds when they get into fourth grade. So in third grade, there's this, I don't know if you remember the presentation I did before where we talked about the scaffolds that are provided in each grade. Every year, those scaffolds kind of dwindle down. So in fourth grade, they don't have nearly as many. So sometimes being able to formulate a response on your own without those supports is difficult for students. So we see some of the students that were previously on grade level, now they're approaching because maybe they were missing something within a response.
So this year, Andrea, they're using the HMH, correct?
This year, K5, yes.
Yeah. So last year, when we look at the cohort, so spring of 2025, they were using something different.
Yes.
Okay. So
Some were piloting.
But
adjusting.
going from the other one to this one, you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, but I think also the teachers, it's something new. for-
Right. I think you have to take into consideration that the teachers as well. But I think if you were to look back somewhat at like the progress that our younger students are making throughout the year, actually this one, like our kindergarten students, when we talk to, and I'm not going to put her on the spot, but Beth was today at a meeting at Hollywood, was talking to, there was a kindergarten teacher in the room with us, and we were talking about those skills and how at the beginning of the year she was a little bit hesitant about the program. And now when she looks at her students, there's been some significant growth. So I think we can factor in a couple things, but those younger grades, I truly believe our foundational skills are going to be a lot stronger.
I think that's a given with the new program. It should be.
Yeah.
At least that's our hope.
So Andrea, can I ask a question? Because rusty on all of this. In fourth grade, is that when, like you were mentioning, the scaffolds are significantly reduced? And like obviously informational reading and informational writing, technical writing is something that we start very, very young. But is it in fourth grade when the level of those texts really increases?
It does. I was gonna say, give me one
Thank
second.
you.
Let me see if I can find, if I can't find it right
That's
away, I
often a
won't,
type of
but-
reading that students do not enjoy because it's not like a
this is what I
really
was looking
action-packed nonfiction reading. It's often like, for us, it would be like reading the manual for your new microwave.
Or informational reading.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Oops. This is what I was looking for. I think this was what we had looked at before, where you can kind of see where, what happens in those grade levels. So we start to see those multi-paragraph informational and literary texts that come in. There's vocabulary that's all in context, and we do see that the texts get longer and more complex as students progress through those grades. And there's, like we said, as the third grade, there's a few more scaffolds because they're just getting into that. By fourth and by fifth grade, and then above, you see those taken away. And there's not always a clear entry point for students. So just a quick kind of reminder as we go through it, it is And then in grades 6 through 8, you have your advanced literacy and analytical thinking that comes in. So in 5th grade, just starting with the year, we do see the same trend of the reduction in the darker red, the 2 or more grade levels below, starting the year with 79 students there, going to 46. And then we did see between the winter to the spring, again, we do see a jump there from 46 to 56. So when you look in that red, you see the pattern of the lighter red got a little bit smaller, but where did those students go? So again, that importance of really taking that data, pulling the student names out, putting scores next to the names, seeing who's on that cusp of going one way or the next. We did see, if you go to the left, the growth in the green, there is growth there in both areas, the above and the on grade level. And we do see our approaching band as well.
So in the winter of 25, so these would have been 4th graders.
Nope, this is the same group of kids.
Oh, okay.
This is our 5th grade. This is the year at a glance for 5th grade.
I'm looking at
Nope.
when they moved into the 5-6 building, because we're still wanting.
That's
still
your-
Looking for that data.
This
on
chart.
What the impact of the.
Here's
move
the next one right here, this cohort chart. So these students as 4th graders, they would have been 4th graders last year. So then the bottom is this year as 5th graders. So moving into that 5-6 building, you'll see that's the one you want to look at. So while we do have a slight increase in the students who were above or on grade level, we do have, it's not necessarily the darker red. The darker red is smaller here. We do have students who are still in this area, in this more than one grade level below.
They went from approach down. Most of them.
So some of them may have fallen from this approaching to the more than one grade level below.
Because those are the we want to watch to see how the impact of that move had, if it had anything on their grades or not, you know?
And then this is your chart that would show grade level to grade level. So a 5th grade last year compared to a 5th grade this year. Different group of students, but
And we didn't know at the time exactly how that would play out.
yeah.
There's not really much movement. Wouldn't you agree that if you look at that, for those 5th graders, there really isn't a whole lot of movement?
I would not disagree with you on that. And I think that's, there's a lot of factors that can come into play there. It is a first year in a new building. There are lots of great things that they put in to practice at the building, but I know that building is actively looking at a lot of things and reviewing what worked, what didn't, and what changes they can make for next year.
I think that what we're seeing has to be seen in a positive light, because the data was suggesting that we would see a dramatic drop when the conversation came up about what that would look like. So the fact that we're not seeing that.
No, it's not a dramatic drop.
No, so in itself, I think that's a positive thing, at least in some.
6th grade, when you look at them, grade level to grade level, so not necessarily that group of students. So I want to start with the group of students, though. That group of students did continue to grow from the fall to the spring. So our current 6th grade students, this is a trend we see all over. The darker red bands, the more than 2 or more grade levels below, gets larger the older students get. Because once they're behind, it is harder and harder for them to continue to catch up. But we did go from the 114, it reduced to 107, down to 100. We do have some reductions that in the lighter red band, the more than one grade level, going from 49, then it went to 50, and then down to 26. We have the yellow band grew a bit for us. We've been at 78, then we were 70, now we're 82 students that are there. The trend here would suggest we had students move from that lighter red into the yellow. With our green bands, we did have our above grade level band shift that improved from 42 to 56 students. So there's some movement perhaps from the students who were in the on grade level into the above grade level band. And we have our 45 students there in the on-grade level.
So we talk about the interventions that are put in place, and we have a bunch of interventions that are put in place to help students that are stuck, like, I don't remember how you worded it, but that are already behind and they're struggling. So we put stuff, well, you all, put stuff in place to help them get out of that. Would this suggest that maybe those interventions need to be looked at? Because you would hope that you would see a bigger move on the effectiveness of those additional resources.
I guess when you say a bigger move, are you equating a move to I'm going from not proficient to proficient? Because a move could be I'm going from being at second grade to now being at fourth grade, but I'm still in sixth grade, so I'm still behind. So it doesn't mean that that intervention isn't working.
But you would have to see a move over a period of time, because as the interventions and you're improving on those interventions, at some point, you should be, as a group, moving up.
You can, there's a lot of factors that go into whether a student is scoring proficient on the iReady though.
It's just-
So I guess I would just, it depends on your measurement. We do continually review they have SAT meetings in their buildings where they are looking at the interventions that are being used for students. And if an intervention is not working for a specific student, they have that's why we have so many resources. That's why we don't put all of our stock in one resource, because some students do need different things. But I don't think that you could say it's not working just because a student's not proficient. You have to look at how much progress are they making. Are they making a year's growth in a year's time? If they are, then I would say that the intervention is working. It may not be that the student is on grade level, but if they're progressing towards that, then we would say that it's working. And that's why it's important to intervene early. We talk about intervene early so that we can prevent them from falling further behind.
Yeah, we're to the point we're almost headed to middle school, you know.
Absolutely. And that is, again, another reason why this building's taking a really close look at what they can do to improve upon what's already happening there. Here's our cohort data for that group of students.
What do you attribute? It looks like if I combine the light red and the dark red, it's pretty much the same
same.
numbers for the spring of 25 versus spring of 26, but the dark red virtually doubled.
Mhm.
What would you attribute that to?
Maybe the move had an impact of that grade.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
Because everything else is fairly close.
It's close.
But
Again,
it's that dark red that doubled.
it might be a matter of a couple of questions the student missed, and then in sixth grade, when the expectation changes and the score range changes, now they're further behind. It's different standards, again, that you're measured against here versus here. Meaning grade level standards are different.
Well,
So,
as we go through an education system, you have to develop.
so if I'm already behind in fifth grade on the fifth grade level standards, when I'm tested in sixth grade on grade level standards, I may fall into that darker red.
But to Tom's point, it went from more than one to two or more. You know, that's a pretty dramatic drop of proficiency.
Which again is because if I was more than one grade level below in fifth grade, I might be two or more grade levels in sixth grade.
I guess we always hope that.
We would hope they'd go the other way. Absolutely. That's the goal. And then again, sixth grade. So I'm going to throw out there again, sixth grade, we just adopted our new reading program in sixth grade. So next year, I'm curious to see what we see happen. Especially looking at a cohort of kids next year, fifth graders from this year to sixth graders next year, having a year of a different curriculum under their belt, and then moving into sixth grade, what we might see there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how all that fits together.
So this is our reading. I'm going to flip back over for a second to this one for math, just to. That was sixth. It only goes to sixth. Seventh and eighth do not take the diagnostic at this time of the year. They will take one at the end of the year. They only do 3 times a year.
We don't get high school data anymore on that. Are we just relying on the
High school
SATs
only
or-
takes at the very beginning and the end. They don't do the in between because they don't have a personalized path in high school. So iReady, they'll take a diagnostic, but they don't have the lessons that
So
accompany
only
the
thing we can
diagnostic.
Rely on is state testing.
We look a lot at the state testing and then their common assessments that they give throughout their in their classes.
I thought we used to get some. Didn't we?
K-8. Yeah, but then at the end of the year, we'll have the 7th and the 8th grade for you. And just a reminder, before we go into math, this was what we looked at last time, so you can see how that rigor increases in math when we look at the cohorts. K2, again, is all about conceptual understanding and number sense. 3-5 is all about fluency, multi-step reasoning, and application. It's where you see multiplication and division, fractions and decimals, word problems coming in, that early algebraic thinking, and some geometry and measurement. And then 6 through 8 is where you'll see the ratios and proportional reasoning and a lot of abstract reasoning and mathematical modeling. Grades, so you'll see 6th grade, a lot of times it's multi-step problems. They don't tell you where to start. The student has to determine, where do I start? What's the problem asking me to do? And then the concepts will build heavily on what they've done in the years prior. So we'll look at math. We'll keep that in mind. I'll start over here with our young fives in kindergarten. So our young fives coming in at the beginning of the year. We had all of our young five students that were at the approaching grade level band at the beginning of the year in math. And that's not uncommon for students just coming in their very first experience with school, and then it sometimes is even the nature of the test that we look at with our young five students taking this when they first come in. But by the spring here, we're seeing our students, 7 young fivers that are above that grade. And this is, again, measuring against kindergarten standards because iReady lumps all of them together in kindergarten. They don't have a separate young fives. So we have 7 of those students who are exceeding expectations for where a kindergarten student would be, and 16 of those young fivers that are where a kindergarten student should be at this point in the year, and then 67 of them that are at the approaching. Our kindergarten students throughout the year, they've made some nice progress with their math. We started the year with 21 of those students above grade level. We now have 108 students sitting at grade level, or above grade level, I'm sorry. And then we had 26 students that were on grade level, and we have 50 now. We went from 209 at the approaching, and we've brought that down to 98. So
And this is all in vision.
this is Envision, yes.
Well, that shows you, I think we're finally starting to see the full effect of from start to.
So
right?
these are our this is over the course of, this is the same group of kids for this year, yes.
Yeah.
So they are
But
starting
that's-
to move.
Positive numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Good
So
foundation, it looks like to me, at least.
for our kindergarten guys, yep. First grade as well. So we'll start with, do you want me to just go through the year, or do you like going through it each cohort and then grade level comparison? Do you have a preference, or
I like going through following the student.
just follow the student? Okay.
That's mine.
Okay, so we'll just follow the grade level like we did before. All right, so for first grade this year, starting off the school year, we had 13 first graders that were above, and we had 8 that were on. You can see in the winter, we increased those a bit, but by spring, we now have 65 first graders that are above grade level in math and 26 that are on grade level. Our more than one grade level below went from 54 down to 13 students right now. And our approaching students, we're at 166. So you can see, yes, that yellow looks a little smaller, but the green has gotten significantly larger for that first grade group of students. As a cohort, again, is kindergartners last year. Yes, there were more students that were here in the green. There would be no red that you would see here. So we do see some changes here from kindergarten to first grade, but again, I would just say that expectation from kindergarten of one-to-one counting to then you're adding things, first grade, that expectation is different. So it's not uncommon to see the difference between kindergarten to first grade. But if we look at our first grade from last year to first grade compared this year, you can see some progress in where those first graders have moved. We have the greens together combined are similar, but you'll see that there's fewer students that are in that red band.
They're different students.
These are different
Yeah,
students. It's just a
same
grade
instruction.
level comparison. So as a grade level, how are we doing? So sending these kids into second grade next year, we can see that we have fewer students that would be going into second grade that are falling in that below band. Yeah, there will be different numbers of students too, because different groups of kids. Our second grade math for the year, just a year at a glance. In the fall, started with 3 students above grade level and 15 on grade level. In the spring, we have 30 students that are now above grade level and 40 that are on grade level. At the beginning of the year in the fall, we had 131 of those students that were more than 1 grade level below. That reduced to 78 in the winter, and we are down to 59 now in the spring that are in that red. So again, with that group of students, we've seen some nice growth with reducing the number of students more than 1 grade level below. But again, similar trend, the older that the students get, we do see that that yellow band is where we have that movement. Either they stay there or they're kind of falling further behind. So there is a jump here in this more than 1 grade level when we look at them as a cohort of students.
So on this chart, I'd be looking at grade 2.
You'd look at grade
trimester
1 and,
three.
no. For this chart in the middle here, you want to look at grade 1 in the spring of 25 and grade 2 in the spring of 26, because that's the same group. That's the cohort of students. The last one,
That's what I was looking at.
the last one is where you would look at your grade 2 to grade 2. That's a percentage that you have on there. These are your actual numbers of students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because what percentage of our students are on grade level?
Right. If you want to see percentage, use
We
that,
like to see
that
this
chart.
because we like to see the numbers, but
Yeah.
this provides a easy
Yep,
snapshot.
that will give you the snapshot of a percentage of
Right.
students from grade level to grade level. As our third grade group this year, we started our year in the fall with 2 of our students above grade level and 22 on grade level. And in the spring, we have 31 students above grade level and 54 on grade level. We do see that dark red, that 2 or more. So again, remember third grade's the first time that dark red shows up. Third grade, we had 50 students that were 2 or more grade levels below in the fall. We now have 17 of our third graders that are 2 or more grade levels below. And we've seen that lighter red change from 70, we're down to 45, and our yellow band is shifting a bit as well. So some of our inquiries are that some of these students that were in the winter have come over to now this band. Some of the students that were in here have moved over here. And same trend moving left.
Yeah, when you look at the percentages on this chart, you can see a significant change,
Right.
you know, because we're at, 31% in tier 1, and then 47 in
And
23.
I mean, if it would help, I can throw percentages on
No,
this
we got
easily
it.
too, like for the next one. If you
I
want to
can-
see both
I
numbers
can
and
do both.
percentages, we can
Yeah, I can
throw them
do
on there
both
too.
papers. Someone else wants it.
Here's our cohort group of students. Yeah, we can throw percentage, we can throw numbers and percentages on there. We'll just make sure the percent sign's behind the percentage one. So this is the cohort of students. It's where they would have been second grade to third grade. This is where I would say, like, don't forget, this part, second to third grade in math shifts significantly. When we go from our addition and subtraction and very concrete thinking to a lot of abstract thinking in third grade, not uncommon to see that shift in scores. We still were, it's pretty consistent with the second to third grade. One thing when we look third grade to third grade though, from last year to this year, we do have more students that are on grade level this year in the third grade band, on or above. And we do have fewer third grade students this year that are in the 2 or more grade levels below at this time of the year. Yep, you made the sound that I made earlier. Fourth grade. Fourth grade proficiency. So again, a similar trend. We do want to celebrate our numbers of students that are in the 2 or more grade levels below for that group of students has reduced. We've gone from 79 students 2 or more grade levels below to 47 in the spring. We do see some growth within the above or on. Above grade level in the fall, there were 7 students. There's 26 now. We had 11 on grade level. We have 32 now. And then in our approaching band, we do see that grow a bit, and that lighter red does shrink. We started the year at 79, and we're at, 60 now. So still growth within that fourth grade group. As a cohort, again, similar to what we saw in reading, was that once they're in this band, we've got to look at how do we get them here versus over here. So we do see that grew again in the fourth grade.
When you look at 20% of the students are on grade level, in fourth grade, you just, next year they're headed to the 5-6 building, and only 20% are sitting there having what we could consider a foundational skill on grade level.
It does look as, both in reading and in math, I will say that we do see that gap show up in fourth grade. Fourth grade seems to be a year where we're seeing more students are in this darker red. So I do think that does give us some information to look closer at that fourth grade as a whole. What is the curriculum? And one of the things that I'll share with you that the coaching group has been working on is an idea of priority standards. So we've taken our standards, Michigan standards for math, and we're going to do this for ELA, and we're going to do it for science and social studies and so on, but we've been working with our friends at the ISD, Chris Todd and Kathy Berry have been helping us, and we've taken all of the standards K-12 for math, and we've broken them down into priority standards or essential standards, which are the standards that we are saying that every student in this grade, we are going to do all that we can to make sure that when they walk out of this grade, they are proficient in these standards. Because one grade level may have 40 plus standards attached to it. And if you are not sure which ones of those carry the most weight and are priority, you don't know what to focus on. So not only have we broken it down, our teachers, our coaches have taken it back to their schools. They've worked with teachers to identify them. We've brought them together. Said, what did Custer say? What did Manor say? What did Raisonville say? And we've identified priority standards. They're on a document right now. We're still in the midst of now taking those standards. We have a K-12 scope. We're breaking them down now to say, what is this standard asking people to do? Where are the nouns? What are the verbs? What are kids doing with these standards? So that teachers can prioritize and know as they teach throughout the year, these standards show up in this unit, in this lesson of this. This is what I'm teaching. So that our meetings can be focused more around that standard and knowing what it is that kids are lacking. So I just want to give you that little, I would love to, when that is all polished, do a presentation for you on the work that's been done with those standards, because I think you're going to see that it's going to impact this data.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there predictive modeling on what based on what you're putting forward? Kathy Berry is probably.
Other districts have done this work as well, and this will be the focus of our PLCs moving forward next year, will be to really be focused on those priority standards. Professional learning communities. So when teachers come together, a data study, and they're talking around what students are doing and where those, where they're proficient, where they're not proficient, they're going to be having conversations around standards as opposed to, oh, well, they didn't get this multiplication division. What standard is it that it's tied to that they weren't understanding? And so that will allow us to intervene exactly where a student is struggling. So I would, when that work is polished, I'd love to come bring you the math standards that we've worked on. It's quite impressive work. It's a lot of work, and the coaches have spent a lot of time with that. But it's just a little tangent, but I just want you to know that work's happening for math. Will happen for ELA as well. So these are our grade level to grade level comparison. If you look grade level to grade level in fourth grade, you will see that the darker red is less this year. We do have fewer students there. Combined, they're similar. We do look very similar in all of the bands, grade level to grade level. Okay, I'm gonna move a little faster. Fifth grade, here's our fifth grade students at a glance for the year. You'll see again the similar trend with the darker red reducing, 118 students, 2 or more grade levels below in the fall. We have 88 now in the spring. We do see as a cohort with that grade level, the same pattern again. So when we're here in the spring, we can infer that maybe the spring the next year, if we don't make that progress, we're going to fall further behind. Grade to grade, though, we do have, it's a different number of students. So we do also, we have more students that are in that darker red. Again, we want to, it looks very similar, grade level to grade level. And our sixth grade will be the last set of data that we have for our students. So this group as a whole, sixth grade, in the fall, we had 8 of the students above grade level. We have 28 in the spring, 39 that were on grade level, and 54 in the spring. If we look at our below grade level, 2 or more grade levels below, so all the way to the right, that darker red, we started the year with 123 in that band, and we have 93 in that band right now. So as a group, again, that group continues to make progress.
So when they go to 7th grade, you start getting into algebra, right?
You start earlier than that, yeah.
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 but The actual concept of,
we do it earlier than that.
okay.
Oh, yeah, they're in
We actually start like
Some of those concepts we actually
Algebraic
start
thinking
like
is-
all the way back in like 4th grade.
Yep.
Where you actually start asking math questions of like, what plus 4 equals 6?
You'll see a blank box for
Yeah.
students, and so it may not be a variable, but
An algebraic expression.
Right.
So
operations and algebraic thinking standards are actually all the way back to kindergarten.
Yeah,
So,
because that's where the foundation is so important, because in algebra, if you don't get, you're not going to get through the stepping steps for the higher math. And that makes me look at the students that we're looking at here, where do they get that? How do they get that if they haven't got it yet?
do you have any, we're reaching the end of our time here. Do you have any other questions or things that you wanted to go over? Let me see something that I want
I
to
did take a
share
look
with
at
you.
your chart, 'cause someone made it for me, the student counts,
Student count.
this. Oh, you maybe
Andrea
didn't
has
give
no
us
idea
that.
what that
Oh, you didn't give it to us.
That's not from me, so I don't know.
That's mine.
I mean,
That was Andy. We were talking about student counts and
I'm
how
not
much
sure.
fluctuation is there in between the same group of students moving. And there really isn't a whole lot. There's a few numbers
No.
here that, but
Yep.
I was
they're
gonna
not
show
a
you
whole
just-
bunch.
And we know that we do have some kids that move in, some kids move out, and so
Yeah.
you're gonna see those numbers shift.
A little bit.
Yep. I think the one key I would like to have you take away from Andrea's presentation, especially in the math area, are those priority standards. And
yeah, I'm trying to
really-
find my document so I
I
can
know.
show you a little bit of what
Sorry,
we're
it's a couple
working on.
minutes. That scaling and focus
Of course, I
on
can't find
those exact skills. Because when you start thinking about state testing, they don't test on all standards.
Right.
Okay? And so it's really honing in on what each child at each grade level has to know. And so that focus, it doesn't mean they're still not teaching, you know.
Right, because you
all
don't
of them.
teach to test.
No, you don't, you're still
teach
teaching
to-
all the standards, but
right.
which ones are you making sure that our kids know? And so I really commend our coaches and the work that they've done in that area. And so, and I go back to both ELA and math. And Darla, you already kind of alluded to it, is at the lower L, we're really seeing the big shifts. And so they're catching that momentum, especially like I said, on the math area, on those priority standards. That's.
They're getting phonics.
Yeah,
So
so-
that really helps.
I'm going to show you this, but I'm going to say this is not the polished version, so we will present a polished version to you. But this is the document we've been working off of as a coaching group, and it's the Y5 12 math standards. The goal would be that this is published for teachers so that they can look across from
There's your
K to
gray
12.
area.
And we'll add Young Fives. Young Fives is currently working with the county on some standards alignment. So, but right now it'll be K-12. A teacher will be able to look across and see the numbers. So you'll see the code for the standards here. So in kindergarten, we have accounting and cardinality, and you'll see which standards. But then when you click across the tab, we've broken that down to say, what is that standard? So it's to count to 100 by ones and tens. Well, what trimester does that fall in, and what lesson and what topic is that in your math? So as students our teachers are looking across in their teaching, they can easily say, when I teach this lesson in this unit, these are the standards that I should be hitting, and these are the priorities that when kids walk out of kindergarten, we're doing everything we can to make sure they're proficient, and if they're not, we're intervening on those standards.
And that's where your academic tutors and things come in, right?
Our interventionists, our academic
Interventionists.
tutors, yeah,
I
yes.
probably called things by
Yep.
the wrong title, but.
Yeah, but this is just one document, and we will do the same thing for our ELA, so that we can have a nice span of this, and eventually we'll do this for science and social studies in our encore areas as well. So that,
So.
Thanks for sharing.
yep.
Thank you, Andrea.
Wonderful job. So we'll have her back. We'll do this all again. I think it'll be in July when we come back to that
Final.
final, how the year all goes, okay?
And then a couple
Great job.
months after that, there'll be M-STEP, right?
August,
It'll all-
usually.
August.
I'll be out there, yep.
Right.
Yeah.
September, we'll talk about it. So, that's all we have tonight for the work session,
Okay.
sir.
Do we have any public commentary? Okay. Any board member commentary? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adjourn the work session?
Motion to adjourn the work session.
Do we have support?
Support.
A show of hands? Okay. The Monroe Public Schools Board of Education work session for Tuesday, May 12th, 2026 is adjourned. The time is 6:53. We will reconvene at 7 PM for the board meeting.
We can't feel our fingers over here.